everybody, this is Rhino, and we're back to another recording live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, February 22nd. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and very possibly not a lot of things to do as far as daily quests. So, we have a watch and learn we need to try and get done, and priest cards that need to be played. Let's start with a watch and learn. Let's see if this first person can win. And then that will set me up somewhat nicely.
I can see.
Hopefully. Oh, well, that makes that watch and learn really easy. Okay, well, it's silly that you can literally connect to a game and the first action you see is the opponent losing, and that still counts as a watch and learn. That being said, the watch and learn quest is nice because it gives you a pack, but it's stupid in general. It's a waste of your time. It's trying to promote something that most people don't need, nor do most people want to do. Like, there's a big difference between watching somebody who's giving color commentary like Kripparrian or Trump while they're playing, regardless of how good that is, or even me. Like, on rare occasions I do color commentary on what's actually happening on Hearthstone, but there's a big difference there compared to watching your friend and not being able to hear what they're saying if they're saying anything into a mic, which most people probably aren't saying anything into a mic or even have a mic at all. So you're just kind of sitting in silence and watching your friends win, and because of the watch and learn, you end up friending tons and tons of people. A lot of these people on this friends list have not played Hearthstone in an extremely long amount of time too. So if I was to try to narrow down the friends list to people that were just fans of my channel even, I'd probably only have 2 or 3 people, and that a lot of which probably would never even play. So your friends are subverted and changed into really just a list of random people that agreed to accept a friend request. Which, inherently, I guess that's a lot of what MySpace and Facebook and Twitter kind of never was on the concept of just following your friends. But that's really what it just kind of falls down for a lot of people on MySpace when that was a thing, and Facebook is you're just friending people at random. Subverting and kind of destroying the concept of what a real friend is. And even my use of like of Facebook and Twitter really is not like friendly interactions between my feeds. They're just there as announcement feeds to tell people, hey, a new video's out. Remember that? Come out and watch this if you want to. So I'm just need to play cards. So the past couple days I've been banging my head against the wall scheduling videos. I still have some of that to do. It might take a couple more days, but in my effort to avoid doing that, since it is the most miserable experience ever, I decided to go back and watch some YouTube videos that, well, I watch YouTube videos all the time, but I took a special effort to watch 2 series that I'd like to mention. One, I went back and watched myself play Overlord 1 and Overlord Raising Hell. Not all of it at all, just skipping back and seeing a little bit of the game. Having just finished Overlord 2, Overlord 1 was way better of a game. I am very surprised anybody on Steam's reviews there was someone who made the claim that Overlord 2 was a better version of Overlord 1, and no, it wasn't. In no way was it. It's pretty bad. Also, I've been calling Overlord Raising Hell a standalone DLC, but it actually isn't a standalone DLC. It's just an oddly implemented bit of DLC. It looks like a standalone program on Steam, but it seems like it imported at least the save file, if not just upgraded the original game completely. But yeah, Raising Hell 2 looked way better, more competently made than Overlord 2. Also, Overlord 1 and the Raising Hell DLC both ended on cutscenes promising more, where I suppose there could be, you could consider the final cutscene in Overlord 2 as a promising more, but not really. Well, they leave it pretty ambiguous in the first game too. But the company that made the Overlord series, I don't think they're coming back to it. They could be. I looked at what they've done in the past 9 years, and they've released 2 games, so they're spending about 4 and 5 years individually on each game. So it could be in 2 or 3 years that they do announce a new Overlord 3. But I'm not sure how well that would really even work. You might as well do a remaster, take all the games in the series, including the Nintendo exclusives, and like try and combine that entire story into a single series of games. Not really do a remaster, do a full reboot. Is what it should be. Let's see. So, yeah. Yeah, that could happen. The other thing I watched was Super Beard Bros. I've been watching them and trying to get a handle on how they play games, and whether or not I want to continue to watch them. I kind of like them right now as they're doing WarioWare Shake It, but also, why are they covering a game from like years and years ago that nobody knows about? That might be a good thing, that might be a bad thing. But I went back and watched them in bits and pieces, skipped around a lot. I watched them play Saw 1 on Xbox 360 and Saw 2 Flesh and Bone on PlayStation 3 because I couldn't even find a copy for the 360, which both games probably extremely rare in comparison. And when watching that full game playthrough, these were clearly games that they knew they weren't going to like from the beginning. And I'm not going to really try and defend these Saw video games. They are bad, certainly. They're Konami games that allegedly were supposed to be the new Silent Hill game,
right away.
which probably means that some of the people who worked on Silent Hill were forced to work on the Saw games and didn't even really care about it, including, I would imagine, Lionsgate and Twisted Pictures, which, let's face it, they don't really even care about the Saw movie series. It's always been with the exception of the first movie that was just an indie movie, it's always been turned into a slasher, horror, a torture porn series of movies. and people that enjoyed it for that reason, and on some level I certainly enjoyed at least a few of the first 3 or 4 of the Saw movies, but I would be highly critical of how Super Beard Bros played the game, because they were not well versed obviously with the Saw movies, because they're complaining about the video game doing things badly that are direct homages to the Saw movies. Like, they're complaining that there are these puzzles in the game that give you no explanation and no time to solve them. That is the #1 thing about every Saw trap, every Jigsaw trap, is it is on one level, it seems like it would be a doable trap if you were given enough time to hype yourself up about it, hurt yourself horribly in the process, and figure out what is going on. But they never, in editing of the Saw movies, give anybody any amount of time to do that. So you would have to like psychically known that was what you were supposed to do, and so I think on the deeper interpretation of the Saw movies, that is the joke, that is the gag, is that Jigsaw thinks himself this righteous person who's giving people a chance, but he really never is. So things, they're complaining like the games have door traps, like where a shotgun is behind a door that will shoot you. That's direct homages to scenes that happened in the Saw movies. They're complaining about broken glass being on the floor and you being shoeless. That's a direct homage to one of the previous Saw movies. Perhaps an argument certainly could be made that video games that are tie-ins to movies should not homage the movie so much, but Saw 1 and Saw 2, still bad games. A lot of their complaints should not have been complaints, in my opinion. This is a critic being critical of other critics, of course, which is typical. But yeah, I would love if Saw 1 and Saw 2 came to PC. I don't know why Konami would spend the energy to do that, and you kind of know it's a Konami game in the first place, and I'm not sure you really even want to support Konami at this point or ever. It would be a lot smarter for Konami to bring the Silent Hill games to PC, to Steam, instead of just having like one Silent Hill game on Steam that's in the middle of the series. That would be a lot smarter than them bringing back the Saw games. And the developer was Zombie Studios, that went a weird direction and started making official US military video games as propaganda to get more young people to join the military. So, and then eventually went out of business. But yeah. Honestly, I don't know if you could really make a good Saw game. I think that you probably would want to do something closer to a Telltale game. If it was more of an interactive feast than a Telltale game, in the sense that you actually had reason to not divulge certain bits of information in your dialogue, that might work really well. Like, when you think about the entire Walking Dead series on Telltale, there's a lot of points where you could basically not tell some bit of information that would potentially affect you or protect you in the long run. Should have protected that one. But Telltale does kind of nothing with that, because even if you choose in some of the scenes to not tell somebody something, they find out anyways later on. Because at the end of everything, you have to have a certain level of coinciding elements, I suppose would be what you would call it. So there should be, let's see, 311 scarabs.
Right away.
Thank you. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is, like, for the Telltale Walking Dead games, even if you withheld information in Chapter 1, by Chapter 4, that information will still be known to the character that you would have withheld it, or that character would have been dead and it wouldn't have mattered at all. Every single time, because by the time you hit to Chapter 5 in any Walking Dead game, the final chapter in the Walking Dead game, everybody has to be in the exact same position. And thinking back on the Walking Dead games, I feel particularly like it is now just become a waste of time to have ever played that series. Because, well, because it just doesn't matter now.
Right away.
Welcome here.
Must move quickly.
There we go. So yeah, but to get back to their coverage of Saw 1 and 2, and I'd recommend going and checking it out. Saw 1, they were doing like 20-minute at most episodes, where Saw 2 they got into more 30-minute episodes, which I think is slightly helpful, to go that route and go longer episodes
Right away.
in general. Although I'm doing the exact opposite, so it's pretty hypocritical for me to make that suggestion. Let's just keep on playing these cards. A lot of their coverage though was just, this game sucks, this game sucks, I hate this game, this sucks, this sucks. And what's interesting, I think, to take from that is when they make their completionist episodes, which is a scripted 30-minute recap of everything that is required to play a game to like 100% completion, they don't really make it obvious that they very possibly are playing a game with that extremely negative attitude from the beginning of this game sucks, this game sucks, this game sucks. If you start playing the best game in the world and you just have a bad mood about it and a bad attitude, you're not going to have a fun time. And if you ruin the experience for yourself while playing a game and then you come back in a recap scripted thing and you're not seeing what got you to that point, it's not very descriptive to say, well, I hated this game was awful. So watching, they did a completionist video I saw for Saw 2, and they're describing all their problems in the completionist episode calmly and coolly, but having just watched how they played it, you kind of have to say it's in part the critics' fault for not having fun there. On the other hand, I'm watching them. I said I'm watching them play WarioWare Shake It, and they've got like 3 guys in the room, and they're having fun and chatting with each other and just having fun as a group. I think they probably are going to make the exact same mistake that I'm complaining about here, which is that they are. Let's play one Warlock game. I keep thinking Zoo Warlock wins more than it probably does. Like, they're probably going to say WarioWare Shake It is a better game than it actually is, just because they're in a room with their friends having fun with their friends. But they're not really looking at the game with too much of a critical eye. So that's a really long critic's way of saying, I don't think they're very critical. I don't think they're very good critics.
Your soul shall be mine.
Now, I'm not sure I can make the claim that all video game critics should play games alone like me and look at the games as critically as I do. I think they probably should look at games as critical as I do, but maybe there is a more realistic experience for a lot of people to play games with their friends. I think it probably crosses the line when you're playing a single player game like WarioWare Shake It and you've got a friend just sitting on the side adding color commentary. That's not an experience that I'm familiar with. Like, if I did on rare occasion have friends watching me play video games, we were either they were mostly silent, and for the most part, for as much video games as I played, my experience in playing video games was a solitary experience. I was alone. And I think that probably helps me be the critic that I am today. It might definitely be fun. It probably would be more fun to have friends around and with you while you're playing video games, but that doesn't mean that's taking away your focus and attention. And I've certainly played games where they've gone on too long and there's nothing more to say. Hearthstone's a great example. There's nothing new to say here. But it would be bad criticism if I had a second person on the mic watching me play Hearthstone right now, just going, Hearthstone sucks, Hearthstone sucks, this is terrible, this is awful. Every little frustration, every little challenge. I think it's also important in my criticism to point out that when they were playing Saw 2, they played the first episode at the end of Saw 1. Then they came back when they started playing Saw 2 probably several months, if not years later. And they had not learned anything whatsoever. They were making the exact same mistakes for a game they had already played, and the mistakes they were making were very stupid mistakes. I hate to just go straight to an ad hominem attack here, but the Super Beard Bros, in what I saw of them, had them acting very stupidly. And I don't know if they were playing it up to the camera or what. They could not figure out what were, to me, as a somewhat of an expert at playing video games, obvious puzzles, boss fight puzzles, and just puzzles in general. They had no clue what they were supposed to be doing. And when you have no clue what you're supposed to be doing, yes, you usually are immediately frustrated in the video game and think it sucks. But if you have no clue, because you have an inability to learn from previous games you played, a lot of times there's like, is this the first game you've ever played in your life? I know it's not true, but it sure seems like you're acting like that. Or maybe they've just gotten exceedingly lucky and they've never played these kinds of games. This was in part my fear for people who just play first-person shooters in general, is that, like, if you've never played a point-and-click adventure and you go into a point-and-click adventure game, you're probably going to be super frustrated for the first one, unless it's a really, really easy one. But if you were alive and playing point-and-click adventures for decades that they were coming out, there's a certain logic behind it. An example of this is like in Saw 2. At the very beginning, you fight a guy who's basically acting like a bull, and he is ramming into you. He has a cage over his head with spikes on it. They could not figure out that it was the spikes on the cage on his head that were clearly visible, that were ramming into the character you're playing as and hurting you. So that's just a lack of ability. You're in this circular alleyway arena type place. The guy entered through via cutscene, via an elevator. Above the elevator door is painted "Watch Your Step." There's literally nothing to interact with in this area except for the elevator door button. So you pressed the elevator door button to start the cutscene and have the character, the bull character, start attacking you. With that description, think for 3 seconds, what do you do to defeat this guy? You have no weapons, you have no ability to fight back, you can only run out of the way. He will run directly into your direction, wherever you're standing. What are you supposed to do? Pause the video now if you can, if you need more time. Give it 2-3 more minutes to think about what the solution is. Answer coming in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Obviously, you push the elevator door button again, the elevator doors open, but oh no, the elevator platform isn't there, so he runs and falls to his death into an elevator shaft. Super obvious. Early, first thing you do in the game, tutorial stuff. It's ridiculous that they spent probably 30 minutes on that fight, combined with the first time they did it and then the several months that they came back and had not figured out or remembered how they did it at all. And I get it somewhat. If you play a lot of games, you might forget all of a game, but it should come back to you when you're playing it again. There should be some level of familiarity, particularly if you were frustrated with something. If I ran into a puzzle and it was super difficult, I would think it would be in my brain forever after that point. And another complaint they make is also an homage, and it's kind of a spoiler for Saw 2, but nobody's gonna play that anyways, is the first scene, the first section of Saw 2, you're given a choice, and whatever you choose at that point affects whether you get the good or bad ending at the end. It really just affects whether you get one cutscene or another cutscene. while that is crappy, I can't really deny that. It is also 100% an homage to what Saw as a movie series is about. The first Saw movie, in the first 5 minutes, a mistake is made that would have completely, more than likely, freed everybody in like 5 minutes instead of it being a 2-hour movie. Or at least freed one of the two main characters. And so that is just a deep understanding of how Jigsaw as a character continuously claimed to be playing by some fairness rules that didn't really exist. Let's see. So yeah, that's something you can complain about a game if it weren't Saw, but it kind of makes sense too, and it doesn't really matter. Well, there'd be different ways I'd approach something like that. I'd say, here's the good ending, here's the bad ending. Once you beat the game once, I just have the cutscene unlock. But yeah, it's not like when you watch a Saw movie, you kind of know it's not going to be high art in the first place. The first Saw game ended with you either walking through one door or the other door, and it gave you crappy endings on that too. A lot of that really just boils down to a Konami game, and maybe when the Saw games came out, Konami wasn't known for being as awful as they obviously are nowadays. Yeah, I played that wrong.
As you command.
But boy, I remember back watching G4 and watching X-Play and wanting to play that game, and I still would love to play the Saw games. So maybe I have a bit of a nostalgia, weird nostalgia to want to play a game two games I've never played. We got a ton of news to talk about today. We're gonna talk about YouTube on several instances. Also, I would like to say YouTube should have been seeing this coming. Like every time this year, every year around this time, if I can say that phrase correctly, this is going to happen. Somebody is going to put out a video complaining about YouTube doing something rather embarrassing or embarrassing content being on YouTube right around the end of the first quarter, when people like Epic and Disney, who have both pulled out of YouTube because of the most recent video highlighting child exploitation videos or videos that really aren't child exploitation at all, but then trolls / maybe real pedophiles on regular coming onto regular videos and putting like eggplant emojis and timestamps on the chats and the comments. So it's kind of a matter of people having a lewd eye to something that inherently isn't lewd in the first place. I don't know how you fix that other than what YouTube is going to do, as I understand it, where they're just going to start, like, maybe disabling comments on some videos. There is some deeper research that needs to go down here on this too. I keep saying double entendres accidentally. Ignore those. The thing is, if you're a parent and you put up a video with your kid in it on YouTube, your account does not look much different than if you are some part of some kind of pedophile ring that is putting up these videos that are stolen on some fake account. If you're a parent, and you're more than likely not going to have thousands of videos like most YouTubers, or hundreds of videos. You're only going to have one. The only thing I can say, if you're a parent and you have to put your video on YouTube, which, like, I guess, I mean, the thing here is this is probably the exact same amount of stuff that happens on Facebook too. It's just that Facebook doesn't get caught up in these dramas because it's not, there are forces. This is propaganda specifically designed to be an excuse to negotiate for better ad rates by people like Disney and Epic. So it's like, you could even assume that the initial videos are completely unaffiliated, they weren't paid for or bought. Let's say the people that made these videos bringing up this issue, which has been a long time issue, in no way was a shill, in no way knew that they were going to be a part of this. It doesn't matter. People on Reddit who have direct competition, the mods there, totally promoted that video. I saw that video on Reddit complaining about this over and over again. Every single, like, Vox Media, every single journalism site that directly competes for advertising money with YouTube promoted this story and timed the promotion of this specific story to coincide with the time that people buy ads on YouTube for the year. This is, for at least 3 years now, this has been a intentional attack against YouTube and trying to destroy what is new media. And this isn't like a conspiracy theory. This is pretty obvious, pretty proven stuff. That no duh, your competitors are going to sling mud. To get back, if you're a parent and you want to put a video on YouTube, you should make it private and, well, not private, but unlisted. Like, and in all fairness, there probably are a lot of unlisted videos that do not follow within guidelines. There probably are even a few unlisted videos on YouTube that are straight up illegal, like child pornography, that don't get flagged and don't get caught. And YouTube's only way to really fight a lot of this is to put in an algorithm that just bans all videos with any children in them. And I think that's probably what they should just do. Just full blurs, full bans, all videos with children in them going forward. It would be kind of a loss to YouTube, but not by much, frankly. Battlecry and Odd Cards. We'll work on this on the European account. The problem with some of this implementation, the way YouTube is going about it, is that they're going to try and hold channels responsible for what is really YouTube's failure. YouTube has spam and spam filters. They just need to expand and work on fixing their spam filters. I think it's pretty easy to block or flag anything with the eggplant emoji at all. So that's easy enough. Any phrases in general that look suspicious, it's pretty easy to just immediately ban those and block them and mark them as spam. And there are, I believe on YouTube, default spam filters that you cannot turn off, even though there are some spam filters that you can, and you can certainly expand the spam filters if you want to. So you could potentially hold a channel in responsible if they're intentionally turning off spam filters that YouTube has already built, or if the owner of that channel is hearting and thumbs upping inappropriate comments. There's something there. But if some random person hates my channel and is just going to put a bunch of offensive comments there, and I've got a big channel that's getting thousands and thousands of comments a day, it's ridiculous to expect that YouTuber is going to has to moderate all of those comments. And if it gets down to that point, all YouTubers are just going to disable all comments, and that's not the way that we'd like to go, because engagement then would drop on the videos considerably. Now there are also some scummy things that people do to get more engagement on their videos, like questions of the day and asking people to type things at the end of the video to prove that they made it to the end of the video, just to drive up engagements. And heck, I've thought about doing a lot of those things, but they suck. It really just boils down to they are sucky behavior that distracts from the actual content of the videos that are coming out. So the only thing, YouTube has like a video that came out an hour ago. Here's an update on what we're doing to further protect the YouTube community from content that endangers minors. Now I suppose you could get into a more philosophical argument of how do we know this content, these comments are actually endangering minors, because that runs really close to one of those SJW arguments that, oh, this the fact that somebody said something actually endangers it. It is dangerously close to the idea of hate speech instead of being an idea of something that people can say something hatefully to. Hate speech should be a crime in itself. There are hate crimes, and that's where the phrase hate speech is trying to derive a false authority from. Is like, if you are destroying private property and spray painting a swastika, that's hate crimes. If you say I hate all these class of people, that's still free speech, and that really should still be respected, even if it makes you look like a scumbag. There's no reason why that should be limited. Like, there's already other laws, such as causing a public disturbance, that have been stretched extremely thin, and loitering and trespassing laws have been stretched extremely thin and used so that if somebody says something nobody likes, then the police could still get them for that if they so want to. So I could see examples in my head of videos endangering minors, but I can also see examples a lot of times in my head where YouTube would take off parents' videos of their children singing school recitals and saying the fact that you put your own child's singing at a school recital is actually endangering them, and thus you're a bad parent, and it's endangering them because some random person in some random troll in some other country put some comment that you never even saw or knew about
I fight.
on that video. Even if your video is unlisted, there is no system on YouTube to specifically allow only certain people to see your videos. Unlike Google Photos, where you can actually specifically share photos with photo albums with specific like email addresses and only those email addresses. I think that's how that works. Seems like that's how that works. But YouTube's biggest problem is they should have seen this coming, and instead of just putting out a Team YouTube Twitter announcement, there should have been a big video that came out at the beginning of the year getting ahead of this. Every year it should just be a state of enforcement of videos, like where they can clearly say, we've banned thousands of videos, we've reported thousands of videos to the proper authorities, this is how many videos we got reported to us and we enacted on that had violence, like beheading videos. This is how many videos we got reported to us that had illegal pornography or endangered minors. Get those numbers, screw with those numbers as much as you can, YouTube. Make them as big as possible. Every year, have a big to-do about it. Make it like YouTube Rewind. And who cares if people come in there and it becomes the most hated video every year. That's perfectly fine at this point. And really, YouTube has been getting better about making videos that don't piss people off, as far as the Creators Academy and YouTube Insider channels. But get those numbers big, make it look very advertiser friendly. If you say, and try to blame as much of all the demonetization on the advertisers. That is YouTube's best bet, is to say, because they made a video just about a week ago where they're talking about how we were wrong about Nerf guns. Nerf guns are fine. We're okay with first-person shooters, even if they have a lot of gore. It just matters if you're making supercuts. They're really not into if you're gonna make a supercut of all the most grotesque kills in like Doom. Which, okay, so that's the line. You can play all of the Doom reboot, apparently, and they don't target any specific games, which is interesting because I'm fairly certain that the algorithm kind of does. But at least on the human level, they don't target specific games. So playing Honey Pop, for instance, that shouldn't have all been demonetized, but it was. But this is them talking now, so who knows what their engine was doing a couple years ago. They talked about sensitive topics such as like shootings and such, and they said we absolutely don't want any monetization on those at all. Advertisers don't want monetization on sensitive topics. Straight up. Okay, that's the line. Now, the one argument that they didn't enact, and this is what I hear from people who cover the news, and I don't, so it's not an issue for me, is people like This Week Tonight the CNN channels and such, the big mainstream video, not video game, but just big mainstream media and news seem like they can talk about tragedies and still be monetized. So it would be a lot fairer and appropriate for YouTube to say, CNN, you're never going to be monetized on our channel because you always talk about something offensive. Although maybe CNN is just buying its own ads directly, it might be so high up in the ads at a certain level, people specifically say, I want to be on PewDiePie's videos. I want to be on a CNN video. So if that's really how that boils down to, then okay, I guess that would explain why there might be ads on some of the bigger name people, even if they're violating what is the general ad-friendly revenue things. But I've also heard stories where people said that they specifically wanted ads on channels and videos that have been demonetized, and YouTube has straight up said, no, you can't. You can't have ads on this video you want to run ads on. And that's to advertisers that they're telling it. Let's see. Meanwhile, the @YT advertisers Twitter has failed miserably to really promote the benefits and push for people to buy ads right now. This should be a huge ad push for YouTube right now. And I think we'll have a story that we'll run into and get the general gist of. That I know Epic and I know Disney have pulled ads, but there is also a lot of chance that both were going to pull ads anyways. Like, this is just a good excuse. It is very possibly a manufactured excuse by people like Epic and Disney. Like, there could be collusion with all or none of the advertisers and the other places where those advertisers buy ads. Like, it could be any amount.
Let the hunt begin.
What?
And it gets to the level of a crime in some instances, but it's a crime that gets talked about a lot of times, but called judicious interference, I believe is the phrase. But it doesn't get enacted upon, or people don't get sued for it as much as they should potentially. But certainly there are people that sling mud and create controversies to lose other businesses' business. Yelp, great example. Like, people putting fake Yelp reviews, Yelp themselves putting fake Yelp reviews on restaurants. I hear about that all the time. People complaining about food and waiters that have never existed on restaurants. Moving on, though, we've got so much to talk about, and we'll get back on YouTube later. We have an article here. One of the things I've noticed is that when I do the web peek, I only stay on the web peek for like a second. So it's kind of impossible in a 4-hour video to see even one instance where it happens a lot of times. I don't think I'm going to change my behavior on that. It's just that when I was going back and looking at the video and saying, did this thing even work? I couldn't really tell. So we've got an article here. Guilty Gear 20th Anniversary Pack launches May 16th in Europe, Japan, and Asia. Not planned for release in the Americas. I wonder if that's because Guilty Gear just wasn't as popular in the Americas. It's coming out for the Switch on May 16th. I don't understand why you would specifically exclude the Americas account. That is weird. Like, Guilty Gear, as I understand it, is a fighting game, but I'll have to look at the trailer to see if there's something specifically offensive on it that would explain this. I really haven't seen a lot of instances in the video game industry where the puritanicalness of the United States was so bad that a developer or publisher wouldn't want it published in all of the Americas, North and South Americas, just because of that. Now I'm looking at this. It's a fighting game. It's got some anime guys, although these are anime guys from like the 20s, and anime girls from whatever, not 20s, but from like the 80s. So I've just watched this 52-second long video. It's kind of pixely characters, and they're all muscly. Some of the girls have a little bit of cleavage, and it's all fantasy art. But there's nothing here really that would strike me as something that shouldn't come to the West. And if you're bringing it to Europe, you kind of are taking it to the West in how I define the West. If Europe is now going to become the center, and America or the West, that would be weird, but...
Here we go.
So I don't know, maybe it's just Guilty Gear was really just not that well known. I know what Guilty Gear is, though. So that's an odd snub, but maybe that's what really needs to happen. I'd hate to see that happen, but I don't know how you kind of avoid that. But the fact that it's coming out for the Switch in that fashion kind of implies what is happening is that they did business with Nintendo of Europe and did not contact or talk to the people in Nintendo of America. I suppose I slightly buried the lead that Reggie Fils-Aimé has also announced that he is retiring, and Doug Bowser, I believe, is the person who's going to replace him. Now, I kind of wonder if the reason why Doug Bowser has a job whatsoever, I mean, clearly they must have enough faith in him to run Nintendo of America, which is really not much of a company. It's just under direct control of Nintendo of Japan, basically, and that's really where I think it is fair to describe Reggie Fils-Aimé's 15 years of experience as that he did not rock the boat, he played along, and he did whatever Nintendo of Japan told him to do. And I assume that is exactly what Doug Bowser is going to do also. But I kind of wonder if he is actually only employed because his last name is Bowser. And Shigeru Miyamoto thought that was funny. The idea that there would be big changes at Nintendo could be extremely exciting with the new president, Nintendo of America. It could be extremely exciting, but I kind of don't think there's much that they should change. Like, if Nintendo came out with a AAA, we're better than the PlayStation Pro, the PlayStation 5 Pro, and we're better than the Xbox One X, like hardcore console, like that would be an interesting but very possible shift for them to do, is to say, actually the Switch was our replacement for handheld consoles, and now we're going to come out with a Switch Pro that is just for home playing, that's much bigger and much more powerful. That would be interesting, but it would also be kind of ridiculous, because you would expect a lot more than, as far as video fidelity, than what the Switch gives you. The only thing I could think is there could be some big backslides with the with the release of a new president. Like, if they stopped letting so many Japanese games and visual novels and so many people in general just put whatever they want to put on the eShop, and they became more of they tried to go back to being more family friendly. If they came out and said, actually we canceled Bayonetta 3 because it did not fit with our core values as Nintendo, as a family company, that's the kind of stuff that would drive people crazy. If they backslid into something like the Wii U, where it's a bad console, because the Switch isn't particularly a great console, but it also has only first-party titles, that would be a problem. But as long as Doug Bowser just kind of stays the course, I think that's as good as we're ever going to get with Nintendo. Like, maybe he can push for the development of some games that don't really matter to the Japanese people. We see that in Super Mario Maker 2. We still don't have any of the gameplay elements of what was the Super Mario Bros. 2 that was released in the Americas, the Doki Doki Panic game, that was, as it was originally called. So those elements were never cared about. Metroid was, at least at times, from what I hear, not cared about by the Japanese audience, and that certainly would explain why Metroid is not as popular as Mario is, and doesn't have as many games as Mario does. Now, there is also a rumor that a long thought dead series from Nintendo is coming back. It could be anything, frankly. It could be Kid Icarus, it could be Star Fox Adventures, or I mean, it could be Ice Climbers. Some of those may have not been made by Nintendo, actually. Could also mean nothing at all. There's actually quite a lot of rumors
This guy's toast.
today.
Job's done.
Moving on, we've got a game on Steam called Sweet Magic Madness, which is a platform player versus player game, it looks like. So it says single player. It's $2.99 discounted. Doesn't look like anything interesting to me. It just looks like a Smash Brothers attempt at a clone that's not very good. So that's not making it to the list. I went through a decent amount of the videos and tried to get rid of a lot of the videos. So so we're gonna only really be talking about the kind of best of the best that came out. I still have a really far backlog as far as that. We have Nightwolf on the chat saying hi, what's up? Hi Nightwolf. Unfortunately, after this game, I'm gonna have to take a break, and I'm gonna have to take like a 20-minute break, so I'm gonna leave the stream going. So if anybody else wants to jump on the chat and talk to Nightwolf, that would be appreciated. Like, I spent this entire stream talking about YouTube. Here's a YouTube tweet. We appreciate you raising awareness with your fans and realize that all of YouTube is working incredibly hard to root out the horrible behavior on our platform. By way of an update, in the last 48 hours, beyond our normal protections, we're disabled comments on tens of millions of videos. We've also terminated over 400 channels for the comments left on the videos and reported illegal comments to law enforcement. What illegal comments exist? Like, that's really what it comes down to. It is, are they linking to actual child pornography? I guess that would be illegal if you're distributing child porn. There's more to be done, and we're continuing to grow our team in order to keep people safe. So that was a tweet that YouTube made. So yeah, YouTube. Nightwolf asks, how good am I in this game? Not that good, quite frankly. I don't pay attention to it because I'm talking about video game news. Also, why am I even? I'm just playing cards for no reason, really, at this point. Yeah, I just don't really pay attention to the game enough to get very high in the rank. And I don't put enough time into it because I'm playing both on the Americas and the European and the Asian account. So only 1/3 of my attention is on any one account. So I just play every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, get the 3 daily quests done, if I have 3 daily quests, get the gold, and cover video game news. The reason I play Hearthstone is because it's slow, and I can just like not focus on it. It's such a mature game at this point that if I found a different kind of slow card game, I'd switch to that. I'm not sure if I went to Magic the Arena though, if that would be good enough, or if that would take way too long. Kind of depends on whether Magic the Gathering Arena has daily quests in the same way that Hearthstone does. I'm close to a complete collection on the casual decks, but there's certainly a lot of the expansion decks. So, like, I have the base cards, almost all of them. But, like, this deck here has got a 59% win ratio. So it's not terrible. Now it's a 57% win ratio. But even with their new changes on ranked, where you only need 3 stars to go up a ranked level for these low levels, I'm still really only getting as high as 18, and I've never really gotten much higher than that, nor have I really cared about it that much. And Nightwolf asks, after your break, are you up for a fight? I'm bad, so don't worry. Right now I'm on the European account, so if you play on the European account, send me a friend request, and I'll accept it. If you send me a friend request and you're on the Americas account, I'll still accept it, but I don't think I'll be going back to that account specifically today. But we could always come back on Monday, too. Let's see, what am I hitting wrong? I'm hitting the Windows button. So that's going to be it for this recording. Stay tuned if you're watching live. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.